Okay, people, it is officially over a year that I've had this motorcycle. I'm sick and fucking tired of working on it. Today, we are finishing the VMAX. After today, there will be no more work to do on it except for getting the carburetors redone and the suspension rebuilt and probably addressing the rear suspension and the clutch. And I'm gonna stop listing things and start turning wrenches because I'm sick and tired of hearing about it.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
That's too damn bad!
Now, there has been one modification that I have wanted to make to this motorcycle ever since I first got it. Because not only does it have a taller front tire, an 18-inch rim, and a 15-inch rear rim in the rear, they are almost entirely solid cast aluminum, which means they have so much rotating mass. Well, through the Discord, I found myself a set of 17-inch rims that have been out of production for years from a company called Gale Speed. And we're going to see what kind of a difference they make to this motorcycle. All right, let's unwrap these rims because they're freaking gorgeous. And yes, if you're wondering, this is the exact same shot as me pulling the brake pads or brake calipers off the VMAX because I'm doing this all on the same day because my buddy's got all of the right tools, so I didn't want to make two trips. So this right here is my rear rim, and this is a Gale Speed, let's see if you can read it, forged aluminum rim. This is so freaking cool right here, and it actually has caliper mounts, or rotor mounts on it, so that's nice. Check this thing out. It's kind of like a deep blue, I think. It's tough because I'm kind of colorblind. It's almost black, but there's definitely some blue to it, and it's flaked. I'm not sure if you can see through the camera. And this thing is just absolutely gorgeous. It is a used rim because they actually don't make these anymore. They're very hard to get, and I had to import these from Japan. So you are seeing some scuffing around the sides here, but it is true, and I mean, there is a little bit of marring inside, and you can see some of the damage where it was, the tires were spooned on, but I mean, look at that damn thing. Let's get the front out. Look at that. This one's even better shape than the rear rim. It is freaking gorgeous, and the best part about it is how light these are. They're crazy light. So we're going to be saving a ton of weight. All right, there is the rear wheel, and it's looking really nice. And actually in the light, again, I'm kind of colorblind, so there's like almost a purplish hue to it. It's like gray, blue, and purple all kind of mixed into one, and these sport tires look really mean. They're gonna look awesome on the bike. Even though this may not last very long with a 600-pound motorcycle, or 550, or however how much it weighs, but that's not the point. Point is, it just looks great. So now got to do the front. All right, so we got the front tire all seated down here, and while I'm getting all these dyna beads into the tire, I figured we'd have a little conversation as to why I do this as opposed to wheel weighting. First of all, it's easier than using wheel weights. Second of all, this is dynamic, right? So as the tire spins, it always finds balance every single time, because the second you pull away from your first stop and you do like a nice big pull, you're gonna leave rubber on the ground and your tire's gonna come out of balance, even if it's just a little bit. Every single time you leave and the dyna bead starts spinning, you get the tire rebalanced every single time. But it is important that you're actually using the real Dynabeads, not some cheap knockoff stuff, because those can clump and cause some weirdness, whereas this stuff, it's always good, and they last a long time. Rather do that than sit around with freaking wheel weights and spinning the tire and trying to find the right spot all day long. There, a little overpressure while it just sits in the back of the truck, and I'll get the actual pressure when we get home. But there, that tire's done. You ever get that feeling like you're lost when you're working on your bike? Like maybe you made a wrong turn somewhere around removing the swing arm? If only there was an app like Calimoto when wrenching on your motorcycles. Calimoto is the best app for riders because it allows you to plan a ride down the twistiest roads around you in seconds thanks to their route planner. You can swap between twisty and direct routes with the click of a button, as well as share routes instantly with your riding buddies. Or maybe you're just lazy and want to poach someone else's route. You can do that too. Check out everything that Calimoto has to offer and start exploring new roads in your area. Click that link down in the description below and use the code SPITE10 for 10% off a yearly subscription. Now let's see if I can figure out how to put this bike back together. So here's what we're working with. We've got, this is the stock caliper that was on the bike. That looks like it was on the bike. I think that one was also on the bike. I don't remember. But anyway, we've got 2 front caliper sets. So we've got 4 front calipers total. And then we've got 2 rear calipers, right? The goal here is, because Brake Crafters, which by the way, not a sponsor, I just love their stuff, they make these rebuild kits, right? So they had a full rebuild for the rear that include pistons. And then the front, I couldn't find pistons for. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take all of these apart, which is actually really easy. You just, undo those bolts right there, and then the whole thing separates. We're gonna undo the calipers, and then we're going to find the best pistons from each caliper, and we're gonna find the best calipers for each side, because these are all old. These are all old. None of them are new, they're all used, and some of them are going to be in better shape than others. So we're gonna try to find the best, least pitted, least corroded ones, and those are the ones we'll be cleaning up and putting back into service with brand new seals and rings, and then the rear is getting brand new pistons. I know for a fact the rear needs new pistons, at least this one does, because this is completely seized up. And then most importantly, the right tool for the job is some liquid lubrication for me. So Diet Coke will be coming along. All right, we're up here at my buddy's garage, and we've got one of the pistons out of the caliper, and you can see, well, it's gonna be a little hard to see on this camera, but all of that corrosion in there, that's where the seal was, right? And the seal, which is now hard as a rock, looks like that. So this is a cautionary tale of why you do your brake fluid maintenance. You got to change it. I mean, they say every 2 years. I do it like once every 6 months or whenever I get bored. So you don't want that, because that is what caused my rear brake to drag. And this one, this half is so stuck that we can't actually get the piston out. So we're gonna have to get creative to pull this thing out of here. So because we have new pistons for the rear, we've got vice grips clamped on here, we've got PB Blaster in there, and I just want to show you how hard this is to get out. It should not be this difficult. So as you can see, there's our rear with the new pistons in there. We had to basically go through several different, all the available brake parts that we had for the rear to get this to go back together. But everything's working good, and we got the new seals in. It was a very tedious process. But let me show you this. That is what's inside the front, and yet another reason why you want to do your brake service, because that gelatin, that's not good. And there was a lot of it sitting in there too, so all the channels were totally blocked. So yeah, we're gonna need to get in there, clean all that goop out. And mercifully, the pistons are actually in good shape. So we'll clean those up, probably reuse those. All right, job done. That right there is a Boxo caliper and bits. We got 3 good ones and 3 very not good ones. And obviously, there's our tires. I'll probably get this done today. We'll see. But soon enough, VMAX will be ready to go. We actually did some math too. Check this out. So this is the difference. We're going from a 110/90/18, which is 25.8 inches in diameter, to 120/70/17, which is 23.6 inches in diameter. So we're reducing diameter by 2.2 inches. That should cause the bike to handle a lot more sharply, assuming it doesn't handle too sharply. So we'll see. At the very least, it's gonna look awesome. Now before we mount these wheels up, I gotta put the rotors on. The reason why I'm not bedding down the rotors and pads is you want to match the hardware to the ones you want to match the pads to the hardware it's going to be living on. So I want to make sure that I don't spend the time bedding them down to those cheap Chinese warped rotors or the smoked rotor in the rear. And now that I have the calipers totally rebuilt, we shouldn't have another issue with the rotors dragging. I also spent money on these glorious SBS rotors. They look so nice. Okay, time to torque this shit down. Now, before I mount this sucker, I'm gonna weigh it. 34.2 pounds. It's that rear wheel. All right, let's see what the stock one weighs. All right, let's see if we're cutting any weight with this rear tire. 38.4. Nice. All right, let's see about getting this new rear tire on. Man, it definitely feels lighter. Oh, this tire's tall though. How am I gonna get this on here? Oh man. Going sideways maybe? Can I take this out? Let me see. Hey guys, you're gonna have to forgive a low effort shot here, or lo-fi rather. You may notice that it is dark outside and the rear of the motorcycle is completely disassembled. That right there is the rear tire and the rear swing arm, which has in it the final gear case and drive shaft. So, turns out this tire is just a wee tad too wide to get past the final gear case, which sucks because that means that the final gear case has to come out. Only problem is when you remove the final gear case there, the entire drive shaft slides out, which it's not supposed to. I was looking in my manual, and basically the final drive is supposed to stay with the bike up in a U-joint that is right there. However, as you can tell, it did not. It came out with the thing. So that means in order for me to get the drive shaft remounted, I kind of have to take the whole swing arm apart. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to feel about this, but there's 2 of these that hold the swing arm in place. There's like a zillion threads on there, but maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches worth of stud that the swing arm rides on. When that's in place, and there's another one over here, that holds the swing arm in place. So honestly, it's really not hard to take the whole thing apart. I'm just gonna have to come back and deal with it tomorrow, and I'll take you for a ride through that. This is this evening has just been a little bit too chaotic for me to document it properly. So, see you tomorrow. Well, folks, good morning. Welcome to day 2 and the polar vortex, because it is currently 37 degrees in the garage, which is a nice change of pace from it being like 110. So, yeah, but we still have to get to work on the VMAX. So, last night, as I walked you through on the cell phone, I had to remove the swing arm, which is actually really easy. It's just 2 pins that hold it in place, and then the whole thing slides out. However, getting it back into place is a gigantic pain in the anus.
That's what she said.
Because I have to take off this exhaust, and I need to take off that bracket right there. So let's get back to work and get this rear tire on so that I can put the front tire on. There it goes. All right. There. Now I should be able to slide the swing arm in. All right, step 1 is getting some molly grease in the splines. We're back on the phone again, and this right here is why you need to be friends with a mechanic. Because I could not, for the life of me, separate this from the final gear case. So the trick was, because this is meant to sit in there, right? And you stab it into that universal joint right there. This just kind of slides in, and there's nothing retaining it. So it has this nice sexual in and out motion right there. And it'll just slide out. This is supposed to just slide out as well, but what I could do with my mechanic buddy's help is I could pull this up, supporting the entire weight of the drive shaft, and then tap it with a hammer, and the vibrations caused it to just plunk, fall right out. Now, I can reassemble the whole back end of the motorcycle. Again, find a mechanic, buy him some beers, be his friend, because this is worth it. All right, let's see what this tire weighs. 31 pounds. Now I'm gonna get the rotors off, put the new ones on the other tire, and we'll see what it weighs. $27.4, way lighter. Oh my God, that looks so good. Alrighty folks, it is now the next cut in the show. It is a few days later, but the rims are upon the mighty steed. Check these out, man. They are quite nice, and they look so good. I think the real win here, honestly, is not at the front, even though that improves the handling. It's actually at the rear, because the rear tire looked so spindly and so small that from the ass end, it didn't look like a muscle bike. Now it looks like a muscle bike. My left pipe, though, is completely cattywampus. I need to turn it a little bit. I will say, the lines of the motorcycle suit being canted forward ever so slightly. The front end, the frame is actually leaning, it's hard to tell here, but the front end, the frame is leaning down. So the whole motor has actually shifted slightly. Only a couple of degrees, but it only takes a couple of degrees to massively, drastically impact the handling on this motorcycle. And I think the coolest part about this whole kit is it comes with spacers to lower your thingamajig, your front fender, so it actually hugs the tire like it's supposed to. So that's a smart thing that Gale Speed did, and it is a shame that you cannot get these wheels anymore, but I found some. All right, so how do these tires feel on the road? Honestly, the best thing I can say about them is it has completely transformed this motorcycle. This has been a transformative mod. The handling before, this thing sucked to throw down a twisty road. It absolutely sucked. It was not fun. It was heavy. It was slow. When it was on the side of the tire, it felt like it was going to fall over. It was the least confidence-inspiring motorcycle I have ever ridden in a corner, and I have ridden a lot of really shitty motorcycles. And that was you know, the factory setup. You know, admittedly, you know, I need to replace my steering head bearings. I've got a set of all balls on the way. I need to rebuild the front suspension. I need to take those forks off and take them to Limey. Here, Chris is going to handle that for me. And then once I do that, I'll take the front end apart and I'll put the new steering head bearings in there. You know, there's a little bit of a spot when I'm trying to turn it right that I feel. It's not too bad when I'm actually riding, like I'm just, you know, going at speed down the road. You don't really feel it. In fact, going down the road, the steering head bearings feel fine. There's a notch in there when I'm going below 10 miles an hour that I really feel, and that's unpleasant. When I was on the highway too with that front end, this thing was a freight train, man. Getting it to even change lanes, you really had to move it. You're like, all right, man, we're going in that lane now, and you're gonna listen to me. But now the bike is so quick, side to side. Like, this is a 600-pound motorcycle, man. It's very heavy, and yet it handles better than a lot of modern Harleys that I've ridden, which is insane. Like, this honestly, this 30-year-old motorcycle feels as good, if not better, than the modern Lowrider ST. Just gonna say it. And I'm not picking on Harley here. The Lowrider ST actually handles really well. That is a sharp motorcycle. But I have so much less rotating mass on this motorcycle, and it's tilted forward, which is artificially reducing the rake angle of the bike. It is quick. It's not like lightning fast, you know, it's not naked bike. But for a cruiser, this kind of side to side is shocking. Would I take this to a racetrack? No. The reason why I wouldn't take it to a racetrack is not because I don't think it could handle it. It's because this is my pride and joy. I've built this thing over a year, and I would never want to beat on it like that. But I think now with the Power 6s that I have on here, I feel like this would be a lot of fun on a super twisty road on Coda. Hell yeah, man. I'd love to. I've never felt this riding position and the ability to just chuck into a corner. It just dives into a corner so fast, which is really cool. It's really cool. Now it feels like a proper motorcycle. Before, I was really nervous to take some corners faster than, you know, the recommended speed limit. But now, I'm completely fine. It feels so good. Now, my buddy, when I was putting the tires on, my buddy Don was like, you know, you're changing the geometry of the motorcycle significantly. You need to be really careful because you might be ruining the stability of the bike at speed. And I totally hear where he's coming from. The crazy thing is, though, I tried. I you know, every now and again when I get on a motorcycle for the first time, what I do is I artificially, at highway speed, induce a steering wobble. It's not a practice I recommend, especially if you don't know how to ride out a tank slapper, but I will artificially induce one just by letting the bike stand up straight and then trying to shake the bars. And that's how I
how I become familiar with motorcycles. That's how I know how they're going to behave. If there's anything weird that's going to happen. My KTM throws tank slappers like you wouldn't believe. But I know, right? Because I induce them, so I know what it feels like when it's coming. So I tried to induce one at 90 miles an hour, and it wouldn't. It simply would not slap. I could not get the bars to oscillate unless I was doing it. You know, sometimes you hit that sort of resonance and it just does it. Nah. This thing tracks super duper straight still. The only thing is it takes such little input for it to start turning now. Like it just dips in. So it is a little harder to ride on the highway just because it feels like you're balancing a bit on a knife's edge. Even just a little bit of wind and the bike will, you know, you can change direction just by shaking your ass on this bike. Like here, I'm not gonna move my arms. just a little bit of me doing that and the bike completely changes direction, which is really awesome. I've never ridden a cruiser aside from the Rebel 1100 that has handled this well. And this is a 30-year-old motorcycle. And then on the positive side too, I spent a lot of time on the brakes. I spent so much time on the brakes. They're fully rebuilt, they're cleaned up, they're set up properly. It feels so good. Before, the braking was like, I don't know if I'm gonna stop. And now it's like, hey, I need to stop like right now. And the bike's like, okay, let's do it. And it just makes me wonder, why didn't Yamaha just put 17s on it from the factory? I mean, I know it was the 80s and we didn't really know exactly what we were doing with motorcycles back then, but this thing is so good. It's so good on 17s. And really, we didn't get to the 190 section rear tire until the last like 10 years, but holy cow, does it just, I have so much tire to play with in the back. Once I completely work these tires in, I could probably get to a point where I can drag the pegs on this. And now that it's complete, man, it's just little things, right? I need to get the suspension rebuilt, which it's kind of a big job. I need to do the steering head bearings. I need to do a little bit here and a little bit there. But the bike is done. The bike is done. I'd love to throw Öhlins shocks in the rear just because I can. I'd love to put new cartridges in the front just because I can. But it doesn't need anything right now. It is done. I do need to get the carbs done though. Like the idle is running fast. I checked to make sure that there wasn't a vacuum leak somewhere in the intake system. You know, you just hit it with some starter fluid and see what the engine does. I shot some into the intake and the idle stumbles. So I shot it all over the motor and the idle didn't stumble. So I'm getting good vacuum. But yeah, I need to get them just synced up one last time. Or not a full sync, mostly just a tune. The folks on Patreon, you got this off the ground, and I thank you. And you who are watching this, you're the reason why I do all this stupid shenanigans. I do this stuff so that I can hopefully entertain you with my misery. And I don't even want to know how much this motorcycle cost me, okay? I don't want to know anymore. It's definitely more than $8,000. I mean, the ribs alone were they were closer to $1,800 by the time I got them here in the United States, man. So worth it, though. To have the ultimate muscle bike. Oh, and the speedometer completely fucked up. Completely fucked up. It does not know how fast I'm going. It's really fast. I'm probably going right now about 60 would be my guess, which is not really what's indicated. At 75 indicated, I'm doing 70. The faster this goes, the more off it is, and my mileage is completely off. I had to buy a new speedometer, all of this bullshit, but whatever, I don't care. It works. It's done. The VMAX is done. And I will see you guys in the next one. Catch you later.